Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chuchu Reviews, the show where I take 4 random, unrelated albums, and then I stick them in a blender, and then I review them, I rate them, and I rank them. Simplicity achieved. 3 of the records this week were pulled from the comments, so if you have an album you'd like to see featured, why not drop a suggestion, and who knows, you might just get lucky. So let's introduce this week's combatants in alphabetical order. First we have Like Love by Ballpark Music from 2025, which was nominated by Cousins. Next we have Electro Blues by Eels from 1998, which was nominated by Tailtube. Then we have I'm Only a Man by Emery from 2007, which is my own personal pick for inclusion. And lastly we have Hourly Daily by You Am I from 1996, which was also nominated by Cousins. So, now the battle lines have been drawn, let's be complete rankers and rank up a storm. This is Chuchu Reviews. Coming in last place this week we have Like Love by Ballpark Music, which was the Australian indie band's 8th LP and was released a short while ago in April 2025. And although I personally have never even heard of the band Ballpark Music, apparently they're quite the indie darlings down in the land of shrimp and barbies, scoring a string of top 10 albums, with this new one in particular hitting number 1 on the Aussie album chart. And what we have here is basically indie jangle pop 101. I mean, you know this record instantly. A few upbeat, catchy, radio-ready pop tunes that fall somewhere between Belle and Sebastian, Travis and Coldplay, and a bunch of beautifully strummed or picked folky tunes that feel like they might want to wake the kings of convenience from their perpetual slumber. Is it original? Absolutely not. I mean, it's about as original and predictable as the next Neighbours reboot miserably flopping. But don't get all floppy down in your budgie smugglers, because it's actually pretty damn good. Sometimes giving you exactly what you expect and are familiar with can lead to good things, and so it is here. The album just gives you something very comfortable that is very easy to listen to and tries its hardest to put the sun back into the beleaguered sky. Highlights from a delightful indie detour includes the opening Coast is Clear, which kicks things off with an enchanting ballad that lets you know precisely what kind of experience you're about to embark on. To that same point, the likes of Overwhelming Sound and the title track Like Love are wonderful with their beautiful folk guitars and emotionally salient lyrics. Please Don't Move to Melbourne is fantastic with its stomping, instantly catchy blast of jangle pop. It's a pretty obvious single. Nork sounds unapologetically like Coldplay, but at least it's Coldplay in stunningly beautiful ballad mode, so all is forgiven. And speaking of ballads, the likes of As Far As I Can Tell and Fast Forward tread those boards too, but add a bit more of an epic stadium rock bent into the mix. So yeah, simply put, what's not to like here? Is this album going to blow your mind or change your life? No. Is it going to make you feel good via a casual listen on a nice sunny day? Hell yeah. And that sounds pretty bonza to me, mate. 4 stars.
I've tried believing, I've tried, I'll try again. Like the smallest thing, heaving the heavy burden. Oh, I've seen the light from the top of a building. I almost got one foot in front of my feelings, but none of it, oh, none of it.
Next up we have Electroshock Blues by Eels, which was the band's second LP from 1998. Although to call Eels a band is a bit of a stretch, as the band basically equates to the singer/songwriter and multi-instrumentalist Mark Oliver Everett, most commonly referred to as E, and an ever-shifting group of backing musicians. E. It gives a whole new context to the phrase pop and E. Pop, pop, pop. 3 in the back of the head, you nerdy motherfucker. And what we have here is an admirably fragile, dark-hued indie rock album that's got at least 1 foot planted in prototypical late 90s trip-hop stylings. In that sense, the album was pretty zeitgeisty, falling very much in line with that whole post-OK Computer trip-hoppy art rock boom. And this album is a bit of a weird one. Although there are definitely a few outright great songs on offer here, the majority of these tunes on an individual level work out as about decent. Like they're all universally pleasant, but also nothing to shout home about. In fact, a lot of them are like short sketches of musical ideas rather than properly fleshed out tunes. So it might sound like the record could be heading for a bit of a bashing, but that's actually not the case. Because somehow, when you compact all of these little parts together into the overall, they turn out to be quite effective, adding up to a deeply atmospheric and melancholy experience. The whole album thrums with a kind of head-in-the-hand sadness that summons up dank nighttime in the city vibes. Although the main highlight is the overall atmosphere, a few cherry picks would include Going to Your Funeral and Cancer for the Cure, which use those typical 90s trip-hop elements I mentioned to good effect, all cool grimy bass grooves and muffled beats. My Descent into Madness has a frisson of beauty to it via its lovely fluttering string samples and wispy atmosphere. Hospital Food is a fun slice of cavorting jazz fusion that adds a nice touch of variety to the record. Climbing Up to the Moon clings onto a melodic core that levels up its balladeering country rock, while the likes of Ant Farm and Dead of Winter continue on that vibe with their delightful acoustic strum-alongs. So yeah, add into that the alluring opener Elizabeth on the Bathroom Floor, the lovely clean guitar stroll of 3-Speed, the scratchy cool of Last Stop This Town, and the crack sadness of The Medication Is Wearing Off, and you have an album that doesn't really put a toe wrong. Even at its weakest, it's perfectly pleasant, and as I've said, the whole absolutely adds up to more than the sum of its parts. 4.5 stars. Next up we have I'm Only a Man by Emery from 2007, which was the band's third LP. And Emery are an American, Christian, post-hardcore emo band. Oh dear, that sounds instantaneously like a total nightmare and a band I should be giving a very wide berth to. I dislike both preachy religious stuff and the entire genres of post-hardcore and emo. I mean, the day you catch me listening to a My Bloody Valentine record is the day I probably keel over and die. But, and here's the twist, I really rather like Emery. They go about the whole Christian thing in a very subtle and interesting way, basically diving into the vices and sins of mankind and giving you reasons why you might want to turn yourself over to God to escape all the looming darkness. But it's done very deftly via some fantastic lyrics and is vague enough that you'd be forgiven for not even knowing that Emery were a Christian rock band at all. As for the whole emo thing, well yeah, they definitely fit into that genre, but there is a very tangible sense of jangle pop also lingering around the band too. Emery owe just as much to bands like R.E.M. as they do to bands like Green Day and whatever bollocks most other post-hardcore acts idolise. And here on this third LP, the band dive into the follies of masculinity and misogyny and the pitfalls of being a womanising scumbag, which is right up my alley, because I am a womanising scumbag. It's a really cool and dark song cycle that keeps your attention focused with its typically superb lyrics. Musically speaking, this is actually one of Emery's lightest and most pop-orientated efforts. Here the band ease off on the metal heaviness and exercise their jangle pop muscles more than usual, which is something that suits me just fine. As for highlights, well that will be pretty much everything. There is not a weak track on the entire record. In fact, the album just fucking slaps from start to finish. Still though, the party song acts as the album's main single with its bouncing power pop chorus and angst-ridden cautionary lyrics. Can't Stop the Killer is awesome with its growling theatrics about a possessive douche who would rather murder his own wife than see her leave him. Story About a Man with a Bad Heart is a superb song about the crippling guilt of cheating but also the addiction that comes with it, as singer Toby Morrell roars, "Is this it? Is this how I'm to live my life? Lying there with a broken heart on bedroom floors?" What Makes a Man goes for the emotional jugular, with its tales of being overwhelmed by depression and just wanting to sink into the ocean to get away from it all. Well, You Think You're Nickel Slick But I've Got Your Penny Change is rad with its rolling drum attack and Interpol-esque stuttergun guitar riffage. But yeah, you can't go wrong with anything on this, from the walls of shoegazy guitars that define After the Devil Beats His Wife, to the fun disco flip on the chorus of Don't Bore Us, Get to the Chorus, to the 10-minute building epic of a closer that is From Crib to Coffin. It's all really fantastic stuff that I personally never ever get tired of. 5 stars.
I know you like the party, but the party never stops. Well, I know you, but you party on. Party on. Get your body on. Get your body on. Go one last time, go that's all you've got. This is my life to find. Live with me, 'cause you could die tonight. I got this.
Coming in first place and taking home the Chuchu Reviews gold medal this week, we have Hourly Daily by UMI from 1996, which was the band's third LP. And yeah, who? This is another band that I had no idea were drawing breath, but apparently were massive in their home country of Australia. Indeed, UMI were the first Australian band to have 3 successive #1 albums on the Aussie album chart. The LP also has quite the legacy down under, regularly popping up on the best Australian rock albums of all time lists. And fair dinkum, because this album is really fucking good. In fact, it sounds like the greatest lost Britpop classic that never was. Like seriously, if this band was British and had released this back when they did in '96, it would have been massive. You wouldn't have been able to turn on the radio without hearing tunes like Good Morning or Tuesday blaring from the speakers. But alas, I guess to be part of that club you just had to fundamentally be British. But this album does definitely take its cue from British music. Singer-songwriter Tim Rogers set about making a song cycle for the first time here. The LP basically represents a single day of Australian life, with each of the songs being a character vignette. From the romantic milkman out on his rounds in Mr. Milk, to the ex-RAF pilot now doomed to permanently be in the local boozer, as seen in Wally Raffles, each tune is a small snapshot of minor local life. If that sounds rather like the Kinks or XTC, well that's because it is, and that's where the heart of this album lies, and it's a big part of what makes it fantastic. Of course, the bright upbeat sounding Britpop soundscapes and the choice consistency of quality across the entire tracklist also doesn't hurt. Neither does the record's cohesive feel. This is one of those albums where you feel like you've gone on a journey by the time it wraps up, which is awesome. Cherry picks from an album that doesn't wobble at all includes Good Morning, which bounces along its jagged guitar pop groove with a propulsive energy. Tuesday is rad with its none more Britpoppy vibes, blasting horns and lyrics about idling around the house doing absolutely jack shit. Heavy Comfort takes a sharp detour into a strings and vocals tune that definitely has more than a whiff of the Divine Comedy about it. Please Don't Ask Me to Smile is gorgeous with its acoustic guitar and elevated lyrics, as Tim Rogers muses, "When I was in grade 6 I used to hold open the door for a girl, and she called me a wimp. She said there's no need to be so fucking polite. I politely agreed with her. I think she was right." While Moonshine's on Trouble is great with its stammered guitar shimmer and indefinably melancholic undertow in the chorus. So yeah, there's just too much wonderful material on this to cover. Each one of its 15 tracks is worthwhile. Even the secret track that comes after a minute of silence at the end of the record is worth hanging around for, with its lovely Kingsian twinkle and beautiful acoustic guitar trills. Struth, this album is worth raising a tinny of Foster's and pissing in a Billy Bong for. Well, maybe not that last one. 5 stars. And that's another episode of Chuchu Reviews in the bag. Of course, I know you'd rank these records differently, so why not sound off in the comments and tell me which one would have won for you. And maybe drop a nomination while you're there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that other kind of YouTube jazz. Make sure to take care of yourself, but most importantly, just keep on ranking.